a lot of influence of AI in the job role. We are not saying that it is there's going to be a lot of cuts because of AI, because there are new jobs being created, but it definitely has an impact in terms of what are the projections that companies have in terms of hiring. So I did a recent post on LinkedIn saying that if you your skills is something that employees crave for, then you're in the market. You mentioned, right? One is continuous learning, right? Continuous learning has to be the DNA of any, I'm not talking about only in the tech world. Any person in the job market has to have continuous
Namaskaram, everyone. Today I had a fantastic conversation with Mr. Sajid. This is the second podcast which I've conducted with him. A lot of things we discussed, like how does a fresher build his or her resume? How does an experienced person build his or her resume? He took us through his LinkedIn profile and shown us, what are the things which we need to do to ensure that, we get noticed by the recruiters. I'm sure you will learn a lot if you listen to the end until the end of this video. Please do comment. Please do share this video. If you comment, Sajid would respond to it in the comments. I would request him to do that. And yeah, this was an amazing conversation which I had with him today. So please listen to this. Please share. Please comment. Please like and do subscribe to our channel. Thanks a lot for tuning in into CLTV podcast. Here you go, Sajid Swaminathan, one of the prominent recruiters in Canadian IT field, for you at CLTV podcast. Namaskaram, Sajid. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the second podcast which we are doing with you, and it's as always, it's amazing to take your help and guidance. This is really important in this particular time of what's happening in the market right now. I think I see market is picking up a little bit, but then yeah, you need to tell us. So, what is the current situation in the IT job market within Canada, specifically in GTA area?
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. So, I wouldn't, it'd be very difficult to predict what is going to happen maybe after 2 quarters or 3 quarters, but I will tell you what I've been hearing from a lot of HR leaders and also business leaders saying that they have a plan up to 1 quarter. So, mostly the plan for growth is up to April end or maybe beginning of May. Beyond that, it is wait and watch to see how the macroeconomics improves. There are a lot of things that is going around the world. So it will be all based on that. And there's also a lot of influence of AI in the job role. We are not saying that it is there's going to be a lot of cuts because of AI, because there are new jobs being created, but it definitely has an impact in terms of what are the projections that companies have in terms of hiring. So the in Canada specifically, if you look at this quarter, Jan, February, March, April, you will find that it is much better than the previous the quarter last year, now the end of the last year's 2 quarters even. So it's much better, but the momentum that we have now, I'm not pretty sure that we will have this momentum for a very long period. At least for the last 2 quarters of this year, it is definitely wait and watch because there are a lot of external factors that will affect it.
Wow. You mentioned about AI being, some of the major disruptor in current job market. So, considering the AI, what I have got two questions. One, what is the impact of AI on someone who is freshly out into the market from college, like fresh graduates? What is it the impact on them? And at the same time, what is the impact on well-established professionals in the market? The impact of AI on their jobs.
So if you ask me a direct impact, there are mixed reviews as to what the direct impacts is going. So last week only, Devon AI has launched, right? So Devon is the AI engineer. So when you consider that aspect of it, now a fresher, uh, b- it's not a replacement. AI is at least yet, it's not a replacement yet for any talent that is available in the market. But it's going to pose a lot of challenges. Let's say you have done a 4 year course in computer science and you have grasp the fundamentals of computer engineering and computer science. But let's say you have not experimented with multiple programming languages. Let's say you're not experimented with one or two front-end languages, one or two back-end, definitely cloud technologies, and also with at least one or two databases. Let's say you've not experimented that. In your 4 years, let's say you've not done any co-op or internship, or you have not experiment what has been in the course, you have done only that. You have not done a live project, or you have not on your own shown passion to create projects using the technologies that you have learned, right? Let's say you've not gone to any hackathon events. Let's say you have not your personal projects also. You need not have an internship or co-op. Most people don't get it, but let's say you have not been passionate enough to create understand problems and create solutions on your own. It could be any solution, even as simple as creating a website that can help a nearby store, right? So simple examples like if you have not done that during the 4 years while you are studying computer science, it's going to be really challenging to compete with an AI tool which has maybe um, millions of data points from engineers who have uh, build products. So that is going to be a huge challenge. So there are the only thing that freshers will have an advantage is that if they have done those kind of projects, no AI at this particular point in time has reached a stage where it can say that all the possibilities what a human being can think about or problem solving skills cannot is not yet replicated by AI. Why the emphasis on yet is yeah, it's very difficult to predict if by the end of this year or next year we will have an AI system which can do it. But at the moment, no. Uh, Experienced people, the advantage is as long as we deal with problems and as long as we deal with people, AI cannot match that, right? Problem solving skills and people skills are something that AI, based on a certain model, definitely it can create or give you a choice of solution. But the human capability is much beyond that. So I wouldn't be worried about whether AI can replace the experienced people yet. But the challenge is are we at least, even if you're 10, 15 years in the system or you have that kind of experience, are you still a little bit hands-on? You know technology, you work with people, you work in technology, and you're also solutioning, right? Do you have, again, I come back to, do you have your own pet projects where you are not outdated? Right now, if you look at technologies, even something 3, 4 years old technologies are outdated. So are you updated to what is currently in the market? It need not be only Gen AI, but anything that is currently relevant in the market. I did a recent post on LinkedIn saying that if you your skills is something that employees crave for, then you're in the market. If not, you need to upskill.
Wow. So in a summary, so in case someone has to, sustain the current competition given by the automated systems such as AI, you have to ensure that you're proactive. You have to ensure that you go above and beyond your regular boundaries because the world is very dynamic and things do change and you have to be adaptable. That's what if a hiring manager would look into it. That's
Hiring
fantastic.
manager is not looking at you to solve the current problem. No hiring manager right now is saying, I have a problem X, can you solve problem X? Because hiring manager knows that problem X, if it is solved, there's going to be problem X plus 2, X plus 3, right? The hiring manager is looking at, if I bring this person in, can he solve X and X plus N also? So that is what the hiring manager is looking at.
Oh yeah. If I were to hire, then I would look at the attitude of the person rather than because attitude is again combination of multiple factors like experience and the personality on the whole. So basically, you are suggesting to work on a holistic structure of our thought process has to be improvised so that you are contemporary to current situation. Wow, irrespective of being a fresher or a experienced person.
Three things what you mentioned, right? One is continuous learning. right? Continuous learning has to be the DNA of any, I'm not talking about only in the tech world. Any person in the job market has to have continuous learning, as you need to self-invest and take the time to improve on your skill set, right? That is a must. Emotional quotient, you need to work on it. The challenges that we are going to face, you need to be, and we need to ensure that whatever challenges that come our way, we look at it, I will look at the problem rather than the person, and deal with the problem, right? The moment we deal with the person, then it's no longer a solution, right? So we need, whatever, even this is for business, right? We need to deal with the problem rather than the person, and then move forward. So these are things that we need to consider and keep those things on our sides whenever we're looking at, and don't look at it as a job. You need to look at it as a career, because when you look at it a job, it's a 9 to 5, it is a 1 year, 2 year, and then it gets progressive as we go, right? When you look at a career, you look at it as it's my career. I am responsible for my career, and I need to take that responsibility and build on it.
Well, that's a very important point. I'm going to create a reel out of it for the YouTube thing. Because when you mentioned the difference between career and job, people think job is career, but that's very deep actually. It's certainly not. Job doesn't have a responsibility. Career has a responsibility. Career has a personality to it, which I am responsible for my own career.
I would say that ownership, right? Career has
Hmm.
ownership, because you are the owner of your career and you are responsible for that, and you acknowledge that and you take it forward. Job is, you understand what you have to do and you do the task. It's operational, right? Career is very strategic.
Beautiful. Wow. That's a real content for me. Thank you. Okay. So, having said that, what do you think in current context we have to highlight in a resume, specifically for a fresher's perspective, and then we'll go to the experienced guy. So you can actually explain us about fresher. What do you think in given the situation, what you explained, the market and the AI and stuff, what do you think they have to project out themselves to the hiring manager, freshers as well as experienced, please?
Fresher's resume, what the hiring manager is looking at is, again, we come back to what are the projects. Okay, first, what is the course that you're doing? So which course, which university, which is the time that you're going to pass out of the university, all those information has to be there, right? Information as to where you're staying in Canada, what is your LinkedIn link. We mentioned this in our last episode of how LinkedIn is important, so you need to provide your LinkedIn link. Your LinkedIn link has to be complete. It has to have all the information that you're doing. So you need to provide that. For a tech person, you need to have your GitHub link on in your resume, because the GitHub link should have those projects. It could be your projects that you're doing in college. It could be your personal projects, or it could be the internship based on permission. You could also put those projects on your GitHub link, right? So every hiring manager, if you put a GitHub link, they will go through the GitHub link just to understand, okay, what is your coding style? What is the projects that you have done? Does those project involve depth of knowledge, or it is just that you can pick up some small project and do it? So based on they have seen a lot of those projects and they understand the complexity of the project, they can go to a GitHub link and find out how much depth you have worked on those projects, right? So those are the top, they say, preferably for a new grad or a fresher. One-page resume is preferable, but not mandatory. We can have it in two-page resume also. There are a lot of people who do a 4 year course in Canada who would have at least 4 or 5 projects. They would also have 2 to 3 work ex also. They would have worked in some place and they will definitely put that, right? That is also very important to highlight. Now, why do you need your work experience, be it part-time or not relevant to IT also? Why do you need to put it in your resume, especially when you're a fresher? The importance is to show that you understand the Canadian business. You are good in managing time. You are good in achieving targets. You're good in creating results or achieving results that you're proud of. You're proud of your work, right? So the moment you say that, hey, I was working in a restaurant, but I was able to get or achieve customer satisfaction, that there were no complaints during the 3 months or 4 months that I was there, right? It shows that whether you can interact with a customer, even if it is an irritated customer, were you able to solve those problems? Because those are live examples which will happen in your work environment also. You will have irritated customers. I'm sure that's how you would have had these kind of scenarios where the customer would be angry. There'll be deadlines that you need to finish work with, right? But how do you manage within those deadlines? Or let's say you're not able to manage within the deadline. How do you communicate that to the client, right? So everything is not very perfect, right? The environment that we live in or work in is not perfect. So how do you deal with those challenges? So a one-page resume or a two-page resume should highlight all these things for a fresher, right? It should highlight how you have managed customers, how have you achieved your targets, how have you decided to how have you decided to improve on everything. Now, let's say you joined first month, second month, you have started working, you have understood the process. How do you improve on that? Continuous improvement is also necessary. So you have learned certain things, and then how do you improve on that? So those are things about the freshers, right? Uh, my suggestion to freshers is ensure that your resume is complete. Definitely, there are no spelling mistakes, and also to ensure that the projects are highlighted, right? What technology you have worked on in those projects? What is the objective of the project, and have you achieved exceptional results on in those projects, right? Those are key things that you need to highlight. These are for the freshers. Now, let's go to a person who is experienced. Now, the challenge, there are two scenarios. One, a person who has experience in Canada, and then let's say that person is looking for a job after a couple of years of experience in Canada. What do they need to highlight? They need to highlight how is their project or their experience relevant to at least 70% relevance to the kind of skill set that the hiring manager of the new company is looking for. When there is a match in your resume with what the hiring manager, at least 70%, right? It is based on projects, keywords, or the kind of technology that you're working on, whether it matches with what the hiring manager is looking for, then it's a good fit, right? Now, why I'm differentiating a person with Canadian experience is then you know what are the choice of words that you have to use. How do you highlight those projects in terms of achievements? And uh, now, people who are in the tech world, they would have known, especially business analysts, they know what is a business requirement document, right? A BRD document. So when you submit a BRD document, you have the interest of your stakeholders for a very short period of time. In the sense, they are always busy, but you need to ensure that whatever research you have done or whatever requirement gathering that you have done, whatever analysis that you have done, it captures the attention of the stakeholders that they make a decision on it. That is, you need an approval. The objective of submitting BRT is that you need an approval for it. Similar is your resume. If your resume does not speak to the hiring manager to what he's looking for, most probably your profile will not get shortlisted. So that is one important thing in that. Now, the difference in a person who is new to Canada is you need to highlight your transferable skills. Because now let's say you've worked in a particular role, the title might be different here, the role might be different here, but there's always transferable skills that are there. Right now, when you say that you tech, one thing that I always say is technology at any part of the world. The complexity or the business problems might vary, but how has your business solution skills? How can it be applied to the problem that the hiring manager is looking for? Right. So those are important things that you need to highlight. The problem that I see in most of the resume is they have not put thought into the process of creating a resume. Your resume is the first and foremost and most important document that is going to get you a job. If you have not sat at it, not got it reviewed by people, not modified it enough that it becomes the perfect, there's no perfect resume, but to make that resume stand out among the many applications that are coming in, right? I'm not saying you have to use AI, but even without AI, if you do one or two edits on your own, You share it with your colleague or to other two other people and get their feedback on your resume. And once make those corrections, 2 to 3 corrections that you do, your resume will be a good enough to clear all the ATS concerns that you have and will get in front of a recruiter. Then, if it is, their final thing is whether your skills match the what the recruiter or the hiring manager is looking at. The challenge that we have in the current business environment is there are too many people with the same kind of skill set looking at the same kind of job. So the demand supply is a major problem that people are having right now. My advice is always to keep at it. It's not easy, but if you can convince, use referrals, use networking, and try to get your resume in front of the hiring manager, there's a high chance you'll succeed.
Wow, lot lot of information. I'm sure that that will be really useful because I feel what you're trying to say makes total sense. All in all, it's about how you project yourself to the hiring manager, how you project, how well you prove yourself that you are well qualified person for that particular role. Having said that, sir, so I've got one question going regarding the LinkedIn because you mentioned about it. So, what are the basic golden thumb rules for having a proper LinkedIn profile uh, so that it's useful for other for them to get a job because LinkedIn is a very major source of recruiting. As far I've got most of jobs through LinkedIn, most of contacts through LinkedIn, and I've met you also on LinkedIn. So, do you mind showing us your LinkedIn profile and helping us out understand what are the best configuration ways? Take us through each section, and also please, as you do that, also mention how would a fresher, what should a, oh, sorry, what I meant is what would a fresher put there and how would an experienced person put there so that it helps both of these people,
Yeah,
please.
definitely.
Thank you.
I think I don't have sharing access. If you could give me sharing access.
Sure. How do I do that? Let me see. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. Okay. I've given that option. Did you get it?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. So the couple of areas in your LinkedIn profile that you need to be very careful about, right? And most people don't use those features also. So definitely you have your name filled in and the company or the college that you're working in and what is the course and all those details. Location is very important when recruiters do a search. Now, the banner area, this is your banner area, that is very important. Most people leave it blank. The reason why it is important is it is premium advertisement space. So I always say that nobody can market yourself better than you. And in a job hunt, you need to market yourself better. And this is a premium marketing space which allows you to market about what are your thoughts, what are you passionate about, what differentiates you from other profiles, right? So please use any kind of technology keywords or something that shows what you're passionate about. The second thing is it should be a professional photo. Now, LinkedIn is not like Instagram or Facebook, right? So please do have a professional photograph. Do not make it too far away where you have your complete profile with background picture, which is not relevant to your profile. So preferably have a profile picture that is relevant to your role. I mentioned location. Now, one of the things, challenges that most people have is if you have less than 500 connections, your profile coming on a search might be less because it is not a complete profile. So 500 connections makes it more complete profile. So that would be something that most, especially freshers, should concentrate on, right? Now, you have something called as a featured section. Now, the featured section is available only with premium, but if you're using premium, please use this to attach your resume and have it in featured here, right? Again, I would emphasize that when you have your resume here, please ensure that it is checked for errors or spelling mistakes or grammar. That is very important. And you could also highlight any of the posts that are there, and that helps you or that helps the hiring manager or the recruiter show what are the technologies or what are the projects that you're active on. Now, this is available only for the premium users. So if you're not using premium also, it's fine. And then we go to activity. Now, the reason that your activity is important is LinkedIn is a two-way platform. It's not only so there is something called as pull and push. Push is you reach out to a lot of hiring managers, you reach out to recruiters by saying that, hey, I have a great LinkedIn profile. Would you like to connect, right? That is push. Pull is when you have content that is relevant for people. Now, I always say when you're creating content, you create a content for an audience of one. So, Shashank, when you're creating a video, when you're creating a content, you always don't look at whether this will reach 1 million people. You create a content for a very small audience. But what happens is gradually a lot of people will like it, they'll comment on it, and that content is always there for it benefits a lot of people, right? So always when you're building content, build it for a content of one, and it will gradually reach a lot of people. Now, the most important section is your about section. If your about section is really good, that is when the recruiter or the hiring manager, if they're searching your profile, will go to the next section. So you need to write exactly as to what your about section is. It could be about the projects that you're working on. Now, I'll take for the fresher. Fresher, what is the course that you're currently doing? What are the projects or what are the technologies that you're passionate about? What are the projects that you have worked on? And what are your achievements? Or even something as what are your hobbies also could be added in your about section. It is important to ensure that your about section is related to the roles that you are looking for, or it is related to where or what kind of role that you want to apply for. So your about section is about you and it needs to tell a story. So that is very important. Now you have top skills. I'm not sure whether this is only a premium feature, but please do check out. If you have top skills, please add those skills in your LinkedIn profile. Now, coming to experience. For freshers, your college, what course you're doing, that is an experience. What is it that you're learning in the course? What are the projects that you're doing? Please do explain that in short form, bulleted forms, so that it is easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager to read about that particular project or the course that you've done. For experienced people, it need not be similar to your resume. You can highlight in 3, 4 lines, you can highlight the project, the kind of technologies that you're working on, and your achievements. It's important to write or explain or highlight your achievements. It could be about the code that you have written, how many lines of code, or have you solved complex problems? Are you working in a niche industry? Now, let's say you're in a industry like, let's say, in oil and gas industry, let's say you're working on data science. So that is in itself an niche industry. So highlight those facts that you're working in a niche industry if you're doing it. But otherwise, also, every person, it's like a story. You need to tell your own personal story through your LinkedIn profile. So that is very important.
I have a small point which I really, this is very impressive what you have done here. So when I look into your here, the profile which I'm able to see, you've mentioned branding and you actually mentioned increased LinkedIn page followers to 529.4% in 2 years. So why did you do this? Like, what is the benefit of doing this, and how is it impacting your particular job role? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So recruitment is a kind of sales, right? In the sense you need to be recruitment. We always sell the company services in terms of we always sell the company. because let's say if it is not in a competitive market, right? Now, let's say in 2022, when it was very tough to get candidates, you need to stand out from all the other companies that are hiring. So one of the initiatives that I took was to ensure that our LinkedIn page, the company LinkedIn page, had prominence. And I built a couple of strategies so that there were more number of people who were looking at our LinkedIn page and they were following the LinkedIn page. So I set a target and increased it in the period of 2 years, increased it to 529% in terms of followers. So this was working very closely with the marketing team and ensuring that the content that we put there was not only related to the company, but also related to the jobs and the career that we are trying to build and the kind of people that we are hiring to build the company, right? So there was a lot of focus on the employee, the culture, and branding was taken care of in those posts. So it was a combined effort to build this particular page. And how it helps is now when I do a post and put it on the LinkedIn page, there is more visibility of the kind of roles that we are hiring for across multiple locations. So more people apply for this particular post, and that definitely helps. I hope I answered your question on that.
Very well said. I mean, thank you so much because you've kind of given me a what you say, an idea to have where do us next podcast gonna start? How do you optimize LinkedIn? That's amazing. Because what you have done is mind blowing. Because increasing a following to 529.4 in 2 years, it's amazing number. It's not small thing. And you
It's a difficult market to do that, but
correct.
one of the things that we shifted was focusing on people more than just the business solution. So when you connect with an audience based on what they want to read and what content they want to consume, right? When the content is focused on people, a lot of people start following your content. So that is very
Mm.
important when you're doing branding, especially in recruitment branding, that or recruitment marketing. Since we always deal with people, your content should speak about the company brand, and more often, uh, rather than have one event. So that is also something that we did. Events that we were conducting, we started posting those events. This and people who are associated with that picture and that event, they started liking, commenting, and that grew in terms of the engagement of the employees as well as people outside the organization. So that definitely helped.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Let's go to the next session. And
So
okay.
one thing is to always mention the experience, give as much as experience you want to share. If let's say in some areas you want to highlight more, especially your current, you can do that. The others, even if you want to keep it minimal, that is up to you. How do you want to keep it? Your education, definitely give as much details as possible there. The other important thing is the licenses and certification. Now, this is something that I mentioned on continuous learning, right? You need to, some of these courses are free, some of them are paid. So, if you want to invest in yourself and you want to continuously learn and show others that you want to be a better version of yourself from last year, so you need to put those courses here. So license and certifications, what you do, that will definitely add a lot of value to it. So please do include those too, right? Now, there is a project section. Now, this is for freshers also. You could list all the projects that you have worked on, what technologies you have worked, which associated with either a company or a campus or university that you're studying in, and you could highlight what it is. So this is another section, your projects that you have worked on, that this can also be used by professionals. Now, why I say it is important to highlight your personal projects is you need to, and it need not be directly related to your work also. You could pick up projects that you're passionate about on the side, because that will enhance your skills, because you're unique and your hobbies are unique. So that is a value add to your existing professional profile. So any passionate projects that you want to put, you could highlight here. So Shashank, if you're highlighting it, I would say that let's say that you do podcast. So that is a project on its own. So you could
Mm.
highlight that you do podcast, you have done so many hours of podcast, and what is the topics that you have covered. You could definitely add that in your project section.
I'm gonna add this video into first time. I've never shared my podcasting links into LinkedIn, but this is very much needed because I've got not as much as you, but maybe 5% of your followers. Maybe that would help them out as well. I'll tag you in the LinkedIn post.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at followers, right, it's not the number that is important. Let's say,
Hmm.
I'll give you a simple example. Let's say I have n number of followers, and of that followers, let's say only 5 to 10 percentage respond to the post that I do, right?
Oh,
Whereas
okay.
you have less number of followers, but the percentage of followers who respond to your post is higher. That has more value for even for LinkedIn and for yourself, because the reach
Mm.
and impact of your post might have greater value because of the number of people who are interacting to the post. So that is very important. Not how many followers you have, but how many followers are impacted by the content that you're posting.
Wonderful, wonderful. Beautiful, sir. Thank you.
The other most important thing is volunteering. Now, in Canada, why is volunteering important? Now, I'll give you my personal journey in Canada as a new immigrant. When I came in 2018, I came in April. By May itself, I joined an organization called Public Outreach Fundraising, and we were doing fundraising for girl children for Plan International. Children, girl children, child in Africa. We were trying to generate revenue for them to build schools, hospitals, houses for them, and take care of basic needs, even like water and food. So that is when I started my career, I could say, in Canada. Why was that helpful? Because before landing here, I did around 6 months of research before landing here. And one important thing that I found is your volunteering work in Canada is very important. So it holds a lot of value. You will find um, senior folks, leaders, business owners, they also always want to contribute back to the society. You will find them involved in a lot of non-for-profit boards. They will be voluntarily doing a lot of activities. Some like to highlight it, some don't like to highlight it, but they'll be part of it. That is a culture that is available here, right? So when the reason that I have put it is because I wanted to showcase to a lot of people that it is important and it is good to highlight that. If you have done volunteer work in Canada, please do it. There are some volunteer activities that I'm passionate about, and some that I constantly now every year I'm part of the Canadian Blood Services. I donate blood 2 times or at least once in every year from when I was eligible. I donate blood. So this is something that I'm passionate about, and I mentioned that in my LinkedIn profile. I've also mentored at Track, so that is also something that I mentioned. So volunteer work is very important when you're doing your job search in Canada.
Fantastic, because that highlights the empathetic, thing in your personality, as well as it also introduces you to the culture of this nation, because this nation is great in this essence of having you giving you the opportunities to help the community around you. So that's
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
More than that, it is also that one of the things that a mentor of mine told me is before you ask, right, you need to learn how to give. And people think that they don't have enough to give. Everybody
Mm.
has the ability and the mindset to give, right? But we are so caught up in our objective to gain, either be it a career or a job, that we forget that we also can help a lot of other people. And that is something that we need to showcase, that we are open to give and also take. In the sense, before we ask, we are open to give also. So that is very important, right? Now, this is
Yeah.
something. The next is your skills section. In the skill section, I've seen many people adding a lot of their skills and getting reviews by it. So this is something in your when people search based on keywords, the important keywords that you need to be searched upon. Now, let's say Shashank, what are the technologies that you're currently working on?
I'm a database administrator, SQL Server and SharePoint administrator myself.
Okay. So in your profile, SharePoint, SQL, and let's say you are learning any cloud or you want to get into cloud, those kind of skill set should be mentioned here. And
Mm.
people, if you request people to comment or sorry, people to endorse you for certain skills, that is going to help when recruiters are doing a search on LinkedIn. So your skill
Oh,
section, what are the important skills that are relevant to your role? That is very important to have here.
I
And
didn't
you
know
need,
that. Sorry, I didn't know that, the skills will also be part of, when recruiters look for a candidate, skills would also help you out. I never know that.
yeah, because that is where the keywords come from. So
Oh, okay.
the it is important to have those relevant skills that on the technologies or on what you're working on to be here. And more, if you get endorsements, it is great.
Wonderful. Yeah, that makes total sense. Because of the keywords, then more number of keywords the recruiter is searching for, then your profile will pop
Profile
up.
will come up in the first. So
Yeah.
that is one thing, right? There are millions of profiles in, let's say for one, your example also, SharePoint. If you do a search, there might be, and I'm fine looking in Ontario, there might be 500 to 600 SharePoint profiles specifically matching your kind of skill set, right? So
Mm.
the more number of skills that you have, your profile comes up in the first 2 to 3 pages because beyond, let's say beyond 5 pages or 6 pages, the recruiter might not look if the recruiter is really good in a Boolean kind of search. Within 5 to 6 profiles, they will find the right kind of candidates. So they won't go beyond that. So it's like SEO. Your profile has to be in the first 3 to 5 pages for the recruiter to see your profile.
This is like actually, this makes total sense that we need to have a separate session for LinkedIn SEO for candidates and the companies. And now I'll propose that with you. I mean, if you're next time, whenever you're free, let's have that conversation dedicated to LinkedIn SEO optimization for candidates and the companies. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying about recommendations.
Yes. Yes. To make a complete profile. So though we touched upon different steps, right? Your company details, your skills, your projects. Recommendation, you need at least three recommendations to make your profile complete. You need to get at least three recommendations. If even if you're not given, but it is also good to give, right? It could be your peer, your manager. It could also be someone who has worked with you as an intern. Giving is also good enough. So receiving and giving recommendations is important. You need to receive at least three recommendations.
Oh, three is the best
Yeah.
number.
Yeah.
Okay,
Minimum three recommendations is what you need to give,
fantastic.
right? Then comes honors and awards. Honors and awards is just uh, you beat your own drums, right? Because the problem is sometimes it's a very crowded space, right? So what happens is every small or big achievement, you have to mark, like I said, you have to market yourself, you have to beat your own drums, because otherwise, how will people know that you're good in what you do? So if you get an achievement, be it through your social work or be it through any work that you get, please do include the honors and awards that you get. So that is very important.
Wonderful.
And of course, yeah, the interest. So the other thing is follow companies and groups, newsletters. So what are the kind of, so this is, I'll give a thing that I've been saying for quite some time for a lot of job seekers in Canada. How to search or how to do a proper research on the companies that you want to target, right? You should have 40 to 50 list of companies that you want to work in. How do you find those lists? You either ask peers, find out, do your own research, find based on your past experience or your interest, which are the 40 companies or 50 companies that you want to work in. Follow those companies on LinkedIn. Very important. Follow the hiring managers of those companies because anything that they post or they write about on LinkedIn, you will get to know first, right? It's important to follow them for you to get that kind of information. I'll give you a simple example. Now, let's say a direct example is the hiring managers will post a particular role in their wall. and only if you follow the hiring manager or if you follow that company page, you will get those information. Or let's say, Shashank, you're following me and I have liked that post, then you will be able to see that post, right? That is one way to do it. So the important thing is to follow a set of 40 to 50 companies. In these companies are those are your target companies where you want to work, right? That is important. And also the hiring managers. Now, let's say there is a new project that is coming up. Now, how I do my research is sometimes I find that there is a startup which has got funding and they are hiring a senior person or they're hiring a recruiter. That means there is activity going on in that company. They're hiring. Otherwise, why would they hire a recruiter or why would they hire a senior person, right? So that means that they will have projects in the near future. So that is an indication that those are target companies that you need to find out. Are these companies hiring? What are the kind of technologies that they're working on? So you can do a lot of research on LinkedIn. So following those kind of companies definitely helps you get more and more of research material for your job search. So that is very important. So this is a gist about your profile on LinkedIn and what you need to cover.
Wonderful, wonderful. You may stop screen sharing now. Thank you so much. This would certainly help people who are looking out to optimize their LinkedIn profile. As I mentioned, again, I'm requesting you for another session to optimize LinkedIn SEO. We'll plan some other time. Uh, okay, sir, we are almost at the end of the session. But before we go, as always, give us some a nugget or about the jobs in AI sector. Then we'll call it the podcast.
So the job search is like a project. Shashank, you have worked in the tech sector for a very long time. You know this fact, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you don't measure, you cannot improve,
Mm,
right? If you don't record or if you don't capture what all the companies that you're applying for, how many of those companies have reverted back to your application? How many interviews that you have had? If you get feedback, great, but not always you get feedback. But if you know for the companies that you have applied for and you've interviewed for, if you know the funnel, how many applications based on those applications, how many interviews based on those interviews, how many offer. If you've got an offer, great. If you've not got an offer, then you know how many applications you need to do in order to get an interview. And then at the interview phase, you cannot wait until you get an interview to improve on your interviewing skills. So,
mm,
yeah, Shashank, since you and me have attended a lot of interview, you know that in Canada, the interview style itself is different.
yeah.
So, if you come with the mindset that I know everything about job search, and you come and then you think that you're technically very strong and you will answer the questions based on your understanding of the process, right?
Mm,
What will happen is you will fail. The most important thing is to understand the process, measure the process and take small steps to improve the process. That is what I have for everyone to say. The person who understands the process is a winner. The person who measures the process and tries to improve, right? Agile methodology, you constantly try to improve on something that you can measure, right? The faster the sprints are, the mistakes has to be made very quickly. You have to understand the mistakes also, because otherwise you will, if you don't understand what the mistakes are, you will never be able to improve. So do those mistakes very quickly, but also be agile. And so what all you're talking about, everybody talks about agile methodology and all those things. Please use agile methodology in your job search. I'm saying it will work wonders.
because that's a very proven methodology. That's amazing. Um, okay, I guess we are at the end of the session. But sir, sorry, I had to ask you this question for sake of so in the field of AI, what are the kind of jobs, like very briefly, what are the kind of jobs people are looking at? Like I know prompt engineering is one kind of job, but I don't see much of the postings happening there. I don't know any other job profiles in the AI field. What are they?
So there are a lot of so AI is an extension of data science in the sense. So
Oh
data
yes.
science has been there for quite some time. The only thing is it's got a lot of popularity nowadays. So anybody who has worked on LLMs, large modules, so that there are Gen AI projects that are companies are working. Some people don't advertise it as Gen AI or AI project. They would just even right now say as data science projects working on large models, right? So
Hmm.
that those are the projects that. So there is prompt engineering. There is also um, the new roles that will come up is where they are using. There are people who are evaluating AI in the sense there are so many AI tools right now in the market. So they will need people to evaluate these AI tools and say, are these AI tools relevant to the end users or even as a company? Is the company going to accept those kind of AI tools, right? So there's a
Hmm.
lot of research going. It's a continuously evolving space. So I would suggest that people who are interested in that field to look at all those data science roles and understand from the company what are the projects that they, if they mention that it is on Gen AI or very large data models. So those are the projects that you should get involved in if you are interested in AI.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sajid ji. This is amazing time I had. As always, it was fantastic talking to you. And this is our second podcast. I hope to conduct a lot more in the future. And uh, please keep helping me out in helping others, as you always do in the site, in your LinkedIn group, your WhatsApp. And thanks a lot for doing that. Thanks a lot for changing lives of the people, impacting them. And thank you for your
Thank
time.
you for having me. I hope that the session is helpful for all the people who are your audience and good night.
Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right.